The night was thick with silence, the kind that wraps itself around your skin and makes every breath feel like a secret. I was lost somewhere between dreams and shadows tangled in sheets that smelled like lavender, and longing when I felt the shift. In the air, that unspoken whisper of presence that made the hairs on my arms lift with something I couldn't name. I didn't open my eyes, not right away, because I thought maybe it was the wind or a half-remembered dream brushing past me, but then I felt it warm, solid, real, the edge of the mattress dipping ever so slightly, the breath that wasn't mine, filling the space just behind my ear, and it was Liam. He was close, so close I could feel the heat of him through the thin fabric of my nightdress, and suddenly I wasn't asleep anymore. My heart stuttered in my chest like it had forgotten its rhythm, and I lay there still and breathless, wondering why he was there, how he had come to me in the dark without a word, without a warning, and whether I should speak or just keep pretending to sleep. But then his hand was there on my waist, slow, deliberate, not hesitant at all, and I felt the trail of his fingers sliding over the curve of my body like he'd done it 100 times in his mind already, like he knew every inch of me and had only been waiting for the moment to make fantasy real. And I knew then that something was happening that could never be undone. His lips brushed my shoulder feather light, sending a rush of heat straight through me, and I could no longer lie still, not when every inch of me was screaming for more. For him, for the delicious danger of this moment that shouldn't be and yet was. And I turned to face him, eyes wide with everything I couldn't say, and he looked at me with a hunger that burned slow and deep like a flame that had been smoldering for far too long. He didn't speak, and neither did I, because we both knew this wasn't about words. This was about the way his hands framed my face, the way my breath hitched as his mouth found mine, the way his body pressed into mine, with a force that made me ache in the best way. And I let go. I let the world fall away as his touch took over, painting fire along my skin, as we moved together in silence, only the rhythm of our desire speaking loud and clear in the dark. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the time, not the past, not the future, only the heat, only the need. Only the way Liam made me feel like I was the only thing that had ever existed. The morning light had not yet broken through the curtains, but the room had shifted. It held the scent of him, of skin and heat, and something wild that still clung to my body, like a second skin. My eyes opened slowly, heavy with the weight of what had happened, of what should never have happened. And yet there he was. Liam lying beside me, half covered in shadows, half illuminated by the soft glow of a world not yet awake, and for a moment I forgot to breathe. His arm was still draped over me, his fingers tracing the edge of my hip in slow, lazy circles, like he wasn't ready to let go, like he was still lost in the place we had made together in the night. And I turned to face him, drinking in the sight of him, the tousled hair, the parted lips, the eyes that opened just then, locking onto mine with a gaze that saw everything and held nothing back. And I felt the tremble in my belly all over again, because the way he looked at me, it was as if I was his. No words passed between us, not even then. Because what could we say that wouldn't crack the fragile spell we'd cast around ourselves with our touch, our sighs, our surrender? And instead, he kissed me again, slow and deep and aching with a need that had not been satisfied, only awakened, and I melted into him again, letting his hands explore me all over, like he couldn't believe he had the right to touch me, and yet couldn't stop once he had. He rolled over me with a growl, low and rough, and it sent a bolt of pleasure straight through me, the kind that makes you arch your back and forget your name. And his mouth found the sensitive place on my neck that made my legs tremble, his tongue dancing over skin like he was tasting something forbidden and divine. And I moaned against his lips, pulling him closer, deeper, harder, until nothing else existed but him and me, and the way our bodies moved together like we'd always belonged, like we were never meant to be apart. Time stretched and folded around us 1,000. Stars could have fallen outside that window, and we would not have noticed we were lost again in the rhythm of hips and hands and whispered gasps. Mine, his, ours, and I didn't care what the world would think or what lines we were crossing, because in that moment, it felt like destiny. Like desire had brought him to me in the night, and neither of us had the strength to deny it. When we finally collapsed, breathless and tangled limbs and sheets and sweat, I rested my head on his chest, listening. to the thunder of his heart, and he held me tight as if letting go would shatter the moment forever, and maybe morning would bring questions and guilt and silence. But right then, there was only the echo of what we'd done, and the way his fingers threaded through my hair as he whispered my name like a promise, like a prayer. And as sleep began to take me again, wrapped in his arms, I knew I would never forget the night Liam came to my bed, the night that changed everything, the night I never saw coming and never wanted to end.